Welcome to Policing TV. Each week, we will explore the highlights from our latest videos, diving into topics like AI, technology, drugs, and the people shaping the future of policing. On Monday, our roving reporter Jason Harwin was speaking to Michael Brown, a former Drug Enforcement Administration DEA agent and current Global Director for Counter-Narcotics Technology at Rigaku Analytical Devices. They discuss the significant impact of fentanyl in the US, the operations of drug cartels, and the implications for the UK. In this clip, we hear how the US learn and collaborate with others for best practice.
So in terms of the importance of the collaboration, and again, I know we've obviously got very good links with yourselves in the US, with Canada, with a number of other big countries that are really important in terms of this space as well. In terms of the US learning, how does the US learn together then in terms of how they respond to it? Because like you say, it's a number of states, it's massive, the country is massive, as you know very well, and importantly around that collaboration and sharing of practice and sharing intelligence as well. Just explain to viewers how that's actually done in the US.
Well, I mean, for example, for many years, the US has had a very good working relationship with the Mexican government, the Colombian government, and Peru, working what I call complex conspiracy cases, multinational, multi-country investigations that result in arrests, convictions, and most importantly, extraditions. The United States has one of the most aggressive counter-drug enforcement prosecutions in the world. We have extradited and prosecuted criminals successfully in the United States. And one of the things that criminals around the world fear is extradition to the United States because they know there's no way to corrupt the court system. The laws are very strict. And again, that's a very good tool in the investigative toolkit when you're talking about these complex investigations in Europe. Most of these organizations are linked to trafficking groups in the United States, and some of them are vulnerable to extradition. So that's something else that can be utilized by the European authorities to extradite their primary traffickers to the United States, breaking their connectivity to their homegrown organizations, any support they may have within those communities.
On Tuesday, our roving reporter Bernard Ricks was speaking to Chief Superintendent Emily Clark. In this second clip, she discusses the establishment and operations of the dedicated rural crime team within Staffordshire Police. The team was formed in response to the increasing need for proactive measures against rural crime, which includes wildlife and heritage crime, as well as thefts affecting rural communities.
These are quite complex areas, aren't they? So first of all, quite diverse areas. You've mentioned some of the areas of responsibility here, ranging from protection of endangered species and habitats, through to safeguarding and recovering stolen farm machinery and so on and so forth. And some of the aspects of the law are quite challenging as well.
Yes.
These are not the sorts of things that your typical police constable, despite best efforts, will know too much about. So the specialist areas, the specialist knowledge is quite important.
Yes, it is, and I think particularly the heritage and wildlife part of it, but the good thing there is that there's a legislative framework to work from, so we train our officers in that legislative framework, and then they can support other officers when we have to do those sort of investigations, and we've had some really good results from that, particularly around wildlife crime. In terms of the rural side, so the more acquisitive side, or the crime that predominantly impacts the rural communities, that's just standard crime, if you like, but it's just the fact that it has
a burglary in a rural community is upsetting and distressing to the householder, whether it's in a rural community or an urban community.
It is, but what we've recognised, particularly with the rural community, is there's two factors that I think make it slightly different. People live and work within that area, and sometimes, well, quite often their home is also their business, particularly for the farming community, but other people who work in the rural communities as well. But also the communities are by nature more isolated, so the fear of crime can be more than in some of our more built up areas. So recognising that, and recognising that we do perhaps need a slightly bespoke approach to managing rural crime, I think is what our communities wanted, and what I'm hoping that we'll be able to deliver.
So just
On Thursday, our roving reporter Trevor Botting was speaking to Guernsey's Chief of Police Rory Hardy. They discussed a number of different topics, but in this third clip, they discuss how Brexit has significantly impacted immigration and demographics in Guernsey.
Yeah, and I think if you, for someone who hasn't either thought about it or been part of it, it's hard to imagine the amount of work that is required. And I know we spoke some months ago because I think it also changed the demographic of workers to the island. So there was some, and whether that's a good thing, bad thing, or it's neutral, it doesn't matter. The fact of the matter is it did change it. It changed. So the impact of Brexit was really far-reaching, wasn't it?
Yes, it has. I mean, I would certainly say our population and the demographic of our population and the origins of people who are living and working here has changed hugely in the last, I would say, 5 to 10 years. And I think Brexit has probably speeded that up. So we're seeing far more people coming to work in the jurisdiction from much further afield, which is a good thing. And I think diversity and, population change is to be embraced and welcomed. But that does bring a lot of immigration work with it, as well as the oversight and management of immigration. And I think one of the areas we're always on the lookout for is the abuse element of immigration. So the exploitation of people in terms of, migrant workforce not being abused or held to ransom, if you like, by being paid low wages and having their passports withheld. Those sorts of things, we're always very keen to make sure is not happening. And I think, Guernsey is a very safe place, and it is a safe place for people who will come on short-term contracts for migrant work as well, that there isn't that sort of abuse that we probably see in other jurisdictions.
On Tuesday, our roving reporter Bernard Ricks was speaking to Superintendent Nikki Furlong. In this fourth clip, they introduced the Enhanced Video Response, EVR team, in Staffordshire's police, which aims to improve service delivery by providing a callback service within 2 hours for domestic abuse victims.
So it might be, for example, that the alleged perpetrator is no longer on the scene, that the individual still feels under threat, but in terms of the assessment in the control room here, there is not an immediate threat, but still there is a threat that's that the victim feels is very much present.
Yes, definitely. So it's where the victim is in a safe place, and they ring us because they might want some advice, they might want to report a crime. There's a multitude of reasons why a victim will ring us. But what we know is that when a victim rings, they want help there and then around whatever the issue is in a timely way. So our new Enhanced Video Response team, which is a new team, it's planned to go live at the end of November in the Stoke-on-Trent area.
We're recording this at the end of October 2024, and a new acronym for me, EVR. So Enhanced Video Response.
Yes, it's the Enhanced Video Response. So some of the forces have called it a Rapid Video Response. There are two different alternatives as to how you can set up this team. So one is that from the control room, victims are immediately transferred into the Rapid Video Response team. In Staffordshire, we had some feedback from victims around when police respond to them, if they've called us before, there is an expectation that we know the history of that domestic abuse situation, so that victims aren't having to repeat themselves over and over to different police officers when they meet them. And so we listened to that feedback, and so when we have formed our Enhanced Video Response, it will be a callback service. So within 2 hours of the victim ringing us, we will ring them back. A DA specialist who's received training will ring them back and will listen to what they want to report, and then carry out a risk assessment with them, and make sure that we then provide the response that they want in a timely way. So that's the plan for the new team. And
is this something that you'll be introducing force-wide, or is it something that's going to be introduced to a certain part of Staffordshire in the first instance?
Yeah, so in the first instance, it'll be introduced in Stoke-on-Trent. And then we will take the learning from launching in Stoke. We're really interested in victim feedback, so we're building in at the end of the call for victims to be able to provide immediate feedback. And then also we carry out surveys with victims as well around their whole experience of the justice system and policing. So we will be triangulating that feedback. And then building on that, we will use what's working really well. We'll have an opportunity to tweak if there's any improvements we need to make before we roll it across the whole county. So that's phase 2 of the project.
And an opportunity to learn from other forces' implementation of the same or something similar. Also recognising that there may be enhancements that you and your colleagues here in Staffordshire Police can put in place, not just for those initially in Stoke, but for the benefit of all victims of domestic abuse, DA, here in Staffordshire.
Yeah, we've worked really hard on the development of the team. So we've been out to multiple different forces to go and see how they've done things, what's worked well for them, where they've encountered their challenges. There's a real culture here in Staffordshire in our journey out of engaged and to get into being an outstanding police force where we will regularly go out to other forces where we're told there's best practice and people are doing really well, and to go and see that, to make sure that we aren't kind of reinventing the wheel in Staffordshire and we're building on other people's successes to then bring it back to Staffordshire.
Thank you for watching. Tune in next week.